Insider presents Geek Speak with Matthew Harris and Meredith Loughlin. We cover entertainment, news, and tech with special guest appearances. So sit back and enjoy as we geek out together right now. Welcome to the Geek Insider podcast. This is Geek Speak with Matthew Harris and Meredith Loughlin. Tonight's special guest is the lead guitarist and band leader with an eclectic progressive rock band from New Jersey. Thank you, scientist. Please welcome Tom Monda.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
And this is where Meredith inserts the crowd noise. And
Hey.
Tom,
I need it. It's been a while, man. I might not ever hear a crowd again. Give me something.
Man. And Tom, of course, welcome to the show. We definitely appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. Yeah, exactly. But, introduce everybody to Thank You Scientist. You guys got a really good following on social media. You guys have a really cool sound. So in your own words, tell us about Thank You Scientist and what you guys are all about.
Yeah, so Thank You Scientist. We're a 7-piece band. Like you said, a lot of people classify us in the progressive kind of rock sort of category. There's a lot for, different listeners. If you like jazz, if you like improvisation, if you like kind of tightly, meticulously composed stuff. But we also, try to have like nice hooks in our music too. So, our whole goal in creating music is to try to trick people into listening to difficult music and not be sort of, offended by it. Maybe offended isn't the right word, but so we've kind of made a career of kind of, doing whatever the hell we want. And I think it's maybe because we have a group of 7 guys who really are not afraid to make asses of ourselves. We take the music seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. And that was something that is, I guess, really important with a lot of the artists that I grew up listening to, guys like Frank Zappa, things like that, who are very serious musicians. But they didn't have this sort of air of pretentiousness about them. And it was, they weren't afraid to be funny. And I like that, my favorite moments going to a concert are when the artist can crack a joke or something and you get like a little insight into the psyche of the artist. You know what I mean? Apart from what's going on, the insights you get from their music. So I think that might be something that sort of separates us from a lot of the, our sort of cohabitators in that genre. And I just think, anybody who just wants to hear something kind of cool and different, I think Thank You Scientist would be something they might want to check out.
Guys, Thank You Scientists can wail. And I'm not joking here. These guys, if you like, I always tell you all that I like everything from Mozart to Metallica and everything in between. But these guys can wail, from horns to guitar to vocals to everything in between. These guys can wail. Check them out. Now, go ahead, Meredith.
Well, touching on what Tom was saying earlier, to try and trick them into listening to difficult music. When I was watching some of the videos, I noticed the strings, I noticed violin, and I noticed that there is composition to a lot of your music. And touch on that, because that's not when you're talking about rock and roll, those classical elements seem to be missing from a lot of bands. But I appreciate it because I have I have some classical background for voice. So, we were around with the orchestras and things like that. So when I saw that, I was thrilled.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, I'm an avid music listener, first and foremost, I probably consider myself a listener more than a performer. I still don't feel like a performer, like when you're a kid and you're hearing music, listening to it on a record, it seems like they're not even real people. It seems like this, like, there must be superhuman sort of thing. So I'm still like wrapping my head around the fact that I play music, so I'm still a listener first and foremost. And it's just a byproduct of loving a bunch of music. And a lot of that music isn't just the standard guitar, bass, and drums kind of thing. There's certain timbres and certain colors that you can't really achieve, especially dynamically, out of just a rock band. I mean, yes, rock bands can be dynamic, but a lot of times it's just dynamic in the loud, soft variety, right? But the ability of having horns or having, we have a violinist as well. those are instruments that can sort of sustain and shape a note in a different way than just a guitar or a bass. So, that to me was like sort of a way to just open up doors to different ways of writing. And, I love jazz. I studied jazz in college. Most of the guys in my band studied jazz in college. A couple of them studied classical music. But I also studied classical guitar. So I have a huge love for a kind of a wide repertoire. And I don't really hear, I sort of hear all the stuff that I love kind of together in my head when I'm trying to write music. I don't set out to write any particular thing. It just sort of comes out. So my apologies for people who don't enjoy it. It just sort of comes out there. Don't blame me. But that was sort of, incorporating all those compositional elements. It's just like kind of trying to achieve what I hear upstairs, trying to get closer to what I'm hearing.
That's beautiful. Now, we introduced ourselves, as host and co-host or co-host, but you've got a beautiful boy there in your lap. And who is that with you? Because he is more chill than any of my dogs. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, this is Maxwell. He's we consider him a member of the band. He's in our press photos if you guys saw that. But no, he comes on the road with us, and I do a fair amount of animal volunteer work with rescues and stuff like that. And he came from one of those rescues. He was found in an abandoned warehouse. Someone had cut him up with like a box cutter, and he was a bait dog. They cropped his ears off, but they did it with scissors, so they messed up his little ears and
you're just gonna make Matthew mad.
Yeah.
Maxwell.
When Max first came to me, he looked a hell of a lot worse. He had scars all over him, but he still had this sort of just laid back personality. Like he just likes chilling. Like if he could be included, he's happy. And there's not many dogs that will go on 5 U.S. tours and just be totally cool with it. And
with everybody.
Yeah, and so he's a good boy. He loves everybody, and we're giving him a good life now because he had such a shitty start. But
that's the thing about that breed, man. And folks, I don't care what side of the line you're on or where you get your news from. Pit bulls have gotten a bad rap for such a damn long time, and this dog right here has been abused, was used as a bait dog, and look how loving it is. If you're on our YouTube channel, you can see this. It's, go to YouTube, search Geek Insider. If you're on the podcast, well, this is a beautiful brindle pit bull, man, and he is just laying in his lap after being treated by humans so crappy for that period of time, man. And yes, there are some that are pushed to the point of breaking or they've been inbred. I mean, the list goes on. There are, but these are the ones that get the bad rap in the press. You don't hear about the German Shepherd that rips a little kid's throat out for pasturing.
Pit bulls aren't even like the #1 bite case, like by a long shot. They're not too high up on the list, but unfortunately, you just hear about it a lot.
Exactly.
And, I hear about it like, my mom, when I go visit her, she's always watching Judge Judy, and I always hear Judge Judy just railing on pit bulls and things like. And it's like, it's just infuriating. It's just absolutely infuriating.
And then you have, here in Texas, you have homeowners that are renters, landlords that won't rent to people if they own a pit bull.
Oh yeah, that happens here too. Yeah. If I didn't have this house that I'm in right now, I would have a hell of a time finding a place that would allow me to have a pit bull. They're considered, a dangerous breed, which is so silly. It's just irrational. There's a lot of homeowners insurance that won't cover you if you own a pit bull.
Exactly.
Things like that is just kind of crazy. But yeah, he's a delight. I've got his brother is an 8-pound Chihuahua, but he's out with he's out with my girlfriend right now. He's on a date with her, and they're buddies. They sit on the couch together and hang out and whatever.
So they conspired to keep you busy while he went out on a date with your girlfriend.
That's it. Deceived.
And of course, folks, I didn't mean to get into the animal rights stuff, but that's just like Meredith knows. That's one thing.
I'm glad you are. I wish every interview someone said something about that because it's something everybody in the band so passionately believes in.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And And I was telling Tom before the interview that he does a lot of adoption work, or I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but
fostering and volunteering.
Fostering. Thank you. And I told him I could never do that because if I did it, the 7 dogs that I have now would be 21, and I wouldn't have gotten married a few weeks ago because I am an animal lover. Whether it is the smallest little rodent, I feel bad when I have to feed a mouse to my snake, just because that's just the way I am. But getting back to the band, Tom, you guys, I mean, you mentioned a while ago about having the violins in it. And, you know, the violin is one of those instruments that can really just touch people, because I can remember being back in the 3rd or 4th grade and going, and the high school band is putting on a play, not a play, but a show. And I can remember her, and some of my friends from high school will watch this and they go, you had a crush on her? But Christy Lee, she played the violin, and that was one of my first forays into the kind of classical music. And like I said earlier, I like everything from Mozart on up, but one of my all-time favorite albums is Days of Future Past with, Moody Blues, with I forget which orchestra it is, but that has just so much just impact. Just, it was one of those operatic kind of albums. Totally. And that's kind of the feeling that you get with you guys. I mean, that I can't pronounce it. I don't know if you're supposed to be able to with you guys, this FXMLDR.
Oh, so yeah, that is it's Fox Mulder, like from the X-Files.
Oh, yeah. How did I not get that?
We just took out all the vowels so we wouldn't get sued or anything like that.
Really, Matthew, you have to turn in your geek card.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, what's the name of this podcast again? What is this thing?
Right. Jeez, no, but Matthew's kind of slow sometimes on the uptake. It's too much Jim Beam, I think, over the years. But okay. No, when he starts singing with that bullhorn and with what is it? I don't want to misspeak. The black.
Oh, the Blue Coats.
Blue Coats. See, I knew I was going to misspeak. But that was a really cool video, and just I loved the way it started. And Meredith, I just did it already, but we are past time for break anyway. Tom, it never fails. I lose my train of thought and I forget the question that I was going for.
It's all good.
It is time for a break, so we're going to take a quick break.
Yep.
Check it out. MobileEdge.com has award-winning products with innovative features and contemporary, edgy designs that empower you to look sharp and travel smart with your mobile tech. Your beloved, not to mention expensive gaming gear and mobile tech devices are an extension of you, so give them the protection and style they deserve wherever you go. Find them at MobileEdge.com and protect your tech with Mobile Edge. Bring it on. Hey Geek Insiders, Mobile Edge has a special coupon code for our dedicated listeners. Get 25% off your Mobile Edge gear using coupon code GEEK25. That's GEEK25. Geek out.
All right, and still didn't remember my question, so I'll turn it over to Meredith and she can take it from here.
Well, you know what? In the previous segment, we didn't get to shout out the website, and I wanted to direct everybody to thankyouScientist.com. And if you go to the About page, you're going to see the pictures of all the dogs, and and Kiwi, which is not a dog, but you have to go to the website to see what I'm talking about. And so it's obvious that, dogs and, the Humane Society is really huge. Now, there was something you said before we started recording, and that was something about your comedy songs and donating. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. So I have, I just needed something to do to kind of like stay positive and amuse myself and, amidst all this craziness right now. And I've always recorded sort of like just funny songs to kind of like make my friends laugh, like little jingles or little things here and there. And I just decided, well, I have all this free time. Let me actually just record some of them and I'll make a page, and whoever laughs at them, and whoever doesn't. So I'm playing all the instruments on the songs, and a lot of it I recorded in my bathroom here, and on Not while using the bathroom. I don't want to give you the wrong idea.
It's honestly the best place to record if you want to, because
that sounds like some sort of weird fetish where like I secretly record my music while going to the bathroom because I get off on people listening to it, you know. But it's nothing like that, I can assure you. Yeah, I recorded the songs on my phone and on my computer, and I'm donating all the proceeds up until the end of this week to Color of Justice, just to give a little something back, to a cause I believe in. And it's been a lot of fun. I have a Bandcamp for it. You can go to ditchtickler.bandcamp.com, and you can check out all that stuff.
Man, you say that 5 times fast, and you might be in trouble. Luckily, this is a non-rated show, and we can say whatever we want.
But ditchtickler.bandcamp.com. All right.
Now, I did remember where I was going with that whole thing a while ago. Now, of course, Tom, I don't know your age, but we both got these nice beards. Mine's got a lot more gray in it.
I'm creeping up on you though. Give me a couple years. It's almost there.
And trust me, brother, it happens quick. Once you get the first couple and you're like, oh, I can pluck those, and the next thing you know, it's more than you can pluck without leaving a bald spot. So
and you know what? And the gray hairs are always the ones that are the thickest, and they stand out like crazy. Like what?
And they go like this.
Nature's cruel joke. I have this thin hair, but I have these gray hairs that are like popping out of here.
and it's going to continue to happen. But so I know there's an age gap here. And in that Fox Mulder video, some of you brothers are wearing some really short shorts. And I want to let you know that when you get up here to this grayness, you can't wear those shorts no more, brother.
It doesn't fly anymore. Yeah.
No,
well,
you could, but you're going to get a lot of looks because there's going to be some baggage hanging out.
Yeah, the main problem is sort of, as your beard gets longer and grayer, your balls hang a little lower. So it's that scrotal cleavage is certainly a concern. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we won't go there, but no, that was just something.
We already did another episode where we talk about scrotal woes.
But I told my wife when I was checking you guys out, and this was weeks ago that Juliana first told me about you all, and I went and checked out the Fox Mulder video, and I said, these guys are a lot younger than me. One of the things I'm going to tell them is that they can't wear those shorts no more once they get up my age. And she's like, "Oh my God, no, you're not." And I was like, "Oh yes, I am." But again, guys, if you haven't checked out Thank You Scientists, you want to check them out. Check out their website, but go to YouTube because their videos are cool. They got which I do want to get it. This will be a good little segue. You guys did a cover of Party All the Time, and that was what your publicist kind of turned me on or segued or introduced me to you guys with. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was great. And it's not just a cover. You guys kind of re-image it. And
that was an arrangement I wrote a couple of years ago. And we would play it live every once in a while. We have like basically like sort of a catalog of like cover arrangements that we'll throw into a set every once in a while for something fun. And that was one of them that we did. And, it was usually hit or miss because not a lot of people realized that Eddie Murphy even had a song, or like, a lot of people don't really know it unless, a friend of theirs might have said, "Hey, check out this ridiculous song. Can you believe this is Eddie Murphy?" So some people are like, like we would play that song live and fans would come up to me like, "Hey, really amazing set. That last song you guys played was kind of weird though. It was like a little different." I was like, "Oh yeah, that was, we didn't write that one, but Rick James wrote that one." But anyway, so
I didn't even know that Rick James wrote that.
Rick James wrote that. Yeah, we had our friend. We did a close to frame by frame remake of the Party All the Time video, obviously with a bunch of changes. We have a dance routine kind of in the middle, and we tried to hire a professional Rick James impersonator for that.
Oh,
we had to settle on a friend of ours who like vaguely resembled Rick James enough that we could be like, "Okay, put this wig on, you'll do fine."
Wig and the glasses.
Yeah, you would. If it's one thing I could say to people, you would not believe how much money a Rick James impersonator commands in 2019. It's
really
quite surprising. I'll just say that. I'll let people do a little Google on their own, but needless to say, it was out our musicians' budget. We'll say that. So.
Well, I have to say that when I got the video and it said censored on it, I was just like, I know the song. I know the song, and I'm just like, and I'm listening to it. I didn't even watch the video at the beginning, and I'm just like, what the hell is this? I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So I played it again, and I was just like, all right, there's a naked old guy in there.
And I try to tell her not to watch because I don't really remember that night, but I'm glad that I could contribute to the band and play that part. I'm just glad y'all blurred out.
That just kind of, throws back to the scrotal cleavage that we were just talking about. I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah, I gotta ask.
That's the censored version of the video because the band has a Pornhub page. If you look us up, where we have an uncensored version of any videos that we have that old guy in. He's been in 3 of our videos, and if you look up, I think it's if you look up older gentleman creams over progressive rock, you'll find it. And
oh my god!
Or you'll find the uncensored version. But that guy was. This is kind of a funny story. If you'll indulge me, I'll tell you.
Oh yes, please.
So when we were doing our sort of PR ramp up for our last album, Terraformer, I had this idea to shoot an infomercial for the album, like something like those like Ron Pompeo rotisserie oven kind of things, or whatever. So I'm like, let's make a real janky infomercial to promote this album. Something that you would see on a public access station late at night or whatever. And I was like, well, I want to get an old guy to host it. So we put on Craigslist. We just wanted, senior citizen to host infomercial. That's what it was. We did the basic thing. And this gentleman reached out to us, and he's like, hey, I'm interested. Here's a couple of headshots. We looked at the headshots. We're like, this guy seems like a pretty good fit. And the next email he sent, he said, I also really enjoy being naked. And he started sending us the next photo he sent was him with nipple clamps on. And I remember seeing that. I'm like, this is our guy. And so he's become, he's this guy we met on Craigslist, and he's become a part of the lore. He's been in 3 of our videos, and he drove down from Syracuse to Asbury Park to film that first infomercial that we did. And so in the infomercial, some background, the other older gentleman that's the co-host on the infomercial is our drummer's dad, who did not know that he would be with a naked senior citizen. That was disclosed to him after he saw the naked senior citizen coming into the room.
Shit!
And but anyway, it was probably the best Craigslist connection I could have ever asked for. It turns out that he's a fantastic guy, and he's always down to be in our videos. With his own motives, I guess. I'm not going to question what those may be, but he's been nothing but great to us, and he's like just a total pro. We love having him in our videos because he's so fucking funny. So that's the story of the naked older gentleman.
Well, Tom, you get the distinction of making me laugh the hardest on this podcast.
I appreciate it. I'll take it.
Jesus Christ. And whoever this old guy is, you're ever down in the Austin, Texas area, we got a party, but both are keeping our clothes on, and we're not.
I have a feeling Matt is gunning for his job. I feel like by the end of sending me his CV through email, and
as long as y'all keep the blurring up, I'm not going on Pornhub, but we keep the blurring.
He's wearing a shirt right now.
Yeah, I get her all the time. She'll say, hey, can we meet? And then I'm like, don't look, I'm naked. But it's just, I work topless, it just goes back to my youth and all of that. But, Tom, I do want to touch back on the band. And granted, we generally say, hey, these shows are going to be 30 minutes, but we don't have any time restriction. We just let the conversation go where it goes. And so if you're not in any hurry, we're not in any hurry.
Not like I got any gigs, man.
But I did want to ask, first, where are you guys located at?
So we're almost all in New Jersey. Our sax player lives in like the suburbs of Philly, but we're all kind of spread out through New Jersey. Most of us are concentrated around the Asbury Park area. I am in Bergen County. I'm right outside New York City. And we're mostly Jersey boys, and that's where the band was formed. That's where we rehearse in Jersey. Let me just adjust Max. He's there you go. Yeah, we're Jersey boys.
And so I had a question about that because I've seen my brother struggle. He's been playing guitar since he was 13 years old, I think, and he's tried several times to get into a band. This is not, trying to get him a job. Trust me, no, it's not. I mean, but he's tried, and so the dynamic of trying to find a group of people that have the same work ethic, who have the same love of music, and the passion to work together, play the music. I mean,
Right.
you're always dealing with personality. You're dealing with ego. You're dealing with schedules. Life happens. How in the world have you guys been able to keep it together?
Well, that took a long time. It wasn't always the case. It's sort of the band evolved and the members sort of changed for, pretty much those very reasons that you're mentioning. It is hard to find people of like a similar mentality who want to like prioritize it. I'm very lucky in the fact that like the guys who basically, we had a couple lineup changes maybe like 3-4 years ago now at this point. And I'm just very lucky that all the guys that are playing in the band now are guys that I was also gigging with in other scenarios. And they're all, we're all super close friends, and we want to do music, and that's our thing. And we make it a priority. And what I tell my students is just like, if you're trying to do music, time is your most precious commodity, right? I'm not a religious person, right? The only thing that motivates me is the inevitability of death, not to get dark. But
right.
If talk about a motivator, that's as good as any, right? So time is your most precious commodity. The main thing is not letting people waste your time. And if you find a group of people who value your time as much as you value theirs, then you're good, And it's just having that sort of mentality, taking it seriously, approaching it like you would any job, you don't show up to your office job drunk. I mean, maybe you do, but you don't keep your office job for too long. But we just try to, we try to approach it professionally. And we also, make sure we bring our A game. We rehearse hard and, all those things. But I think it's important to just really be realistic when you're trying to do music that, there's a million people trying to do music. And if you don't think about the professionality, if you don't think about the business side of things, well, there's 1,000 people behind you who are thinking about it, and they're just going to storm right ahead of you. So that's kind of important. And with that said, I feel like it's better to find people who are dedicated, who will become the best players for the job, just through rehearsing, and that happens. That's what's great about a band, is that like it's the sum of the parts. You know what I mean? Everybody has something different that they bring to the table. And so, find the people who are dedicated, find the people of a similar mentality. Doesn't have to be similar musical taste either. Sometimes that's really great, because sometimes then you stumble upon something that you might not have stumbled upon before. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The differencing of the views and just ideas can be just so invaluable, especially when it comes to a band. Meredith and I could go on and on about our differencing of opinions, and that's why she loves one of my favorite words, which is voluntold. I voluntold you for this. When can you have it done? But folks, we're going to take a quick break. We got to pay some bills here, but we'll be right back with Tom Monda with Thank You, Scientist.
For Geek Insider advertising opportunities, contact advertising@geekinsider.com. We offer space on the website, in the daily newsletter, sponsored posts, and advertising space on our podcasts. For details, contact advertising@geekinsider.com. That's advertising@geekinsider.com.
And we're back. And so, Tom, I wanted to ask, you guys are in the New Jersey, New York area. You guys have actually did what it looks like right now, the smart thing with the whole great pause, as we like to call it. And y'all are starting to slowly phase back into things. Have you guys been able to get back together as a group and start formulating plans and working on music, or are y'all still kind of cautiously waiting to see what happens?
Well, we somewhere like in the amorphous middle ground between that. We started rehearsing, I would say about 2 weeks ago, and we rehearsed in an airplane hangar that is sort of like, so it's very open. We have a lot of space. We don't have to be right on top of each other. And when we open the hangar, it's sort of like being outside. You know, there's a lot of air circulation.
Right.
And we're very cautious about it. You know, obviously we were all really good at the reason why we do that is because we all like 100% just quarantine ourselves. You know, we were not going out. You know, we were not seeing our families, anybody. So, you know, we were all pretty confident that as long as we played by the rules, that we could sort of start getting things going. You know, we were doing some kind of demo work and just passing ideas around, but with this type of music, it's really hard until you actually get in the room and play it. So, you know, we're getting back into it, but I you know, really enjoyed, I haven't taken a break from the band in almost 10 years. So this is not only the longest, it was probably the longest period where I had not played a show for since I was 16 years old, I'm going to say. And probably the longest time in the career of the band taking a break from rehearsing. So it was definitely weird, but, you know, I sort of kind of dove into other things, that comedy thing I was doing, and just really studying classical guitar again, woodshedding a lot of classical guitar and, you know, some other things. So, you know, I tried to use the time to, you know, as sort of a bonus, you know, to work on things that I normally don't have too much time to work on. So in that respect, you know, I tried to sort of make a positive out of a negative situation. But, you know, we're as a whole, we're all kind of starting to get back into it and feels good. But, you know, obviously we had a lot of tours cancel. You know, I lost tons of gigs. You know, I was subbing on the Tina Turner musical on Broadway. That was a fun gig, and that immediately got, you know, shit canned like everything else on Broadway right now. And you know, at least I'm lucky enough to have some students on Skype. You know, otherwise it would be very, very scary.
Now, I was going to wait and let Meredith ask a question, but you brought it back up. The students, you mentioned that earlier, that you have some students. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? Where can people find this? You know, tell a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have a Bandcamp, not a Bandcamp, excuse me, a Big Cartel page where you can actually purchase lessons with any of the band members, and we'll do them. We do the lessons on tour quite a bit at the shows before the show. You know, we'll link up for a lesson if people set one up. We also do them on Skype. But the website address is tyslessons.bigcartel.com. And you could also direct message us on any of our web pages if you're interested in taking a lesson or studying music with any of us. We make ourselves as accessible as we can, within reason. So we should be pretty easy to hunt down if people are interested. And you know, we just all love teaching music. You know, it's something that I'm really passionate about. And I love doing it, you know, and it's been like a real blessing, especially in times like this, to still have a way to make a little money to pay rent, you know,
right.
With music.
And like I said earlier, folks, Tom and the guys can wail. If you are stuck at, you know, you're still in one of the states that is, you know, asking you to stay at home, or you're in one of the states that's spiking like mine in Texas or Meredith's Florida, you know, this is the time. Go look them up. Because I know we've got a lot of folks out there that I can't carry a note to the mailbox, but there's a lot of folks that have musical inclinations and musical talent. And if you are at that point, you know, and you've got the time now, you've got, you know, a couple of extra bucks because you're getting the unemployment or what have you, you know, just if you've got it and you've got that drive, then go check out Tom, man. This is the time to do it. Go listen to a couple of their songs and you'll see what I'm saying. These guys can really well.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Oh, you bet. And Meredith, I've been talking my ass off. You go with the next few.
Well, I wanted to go back to Terraformer. And so this is the latest. It was released at the end of 2019. Mm-hmm. Is there a particular song that's your favorite on the album?
Well, I'm very proud of the title track because there's usually on all the albums I have a song where I play fretless guitar. And this is one of those tunes that's on fretless guitar, and it's got some like new kind of interesting techniques that I'm exploring on that instrument. So I'm real proud of that one in particular. But you know, the album as a whole, it's it's 90 minutes of music. We released this gargantuan double album because we thought, oh man, we'll be touring it for a while, give people a nice chunk of something to and of course, in typical Tom Monda fashion, with my luck, things did not work out the way we planned. Of course, we have a plague right after we released a double album. Right. It's almost like we were the swarm of locusts, that. Yeah.
Oh, so it's Tom's fault, everybody.
It's all my fault.
This is another Geek Insider exclusive. Right? The whole thing is Tom Mondo's fault. But one thing that I wanted to ask was, with the album coming out and then hitting this snag, how has that been as far as your creativity? We kind of talked about this before we went live, or before we started recording. And Meredith and I have ran into a lot of creative people from all different, the whole different spectrum of genres. And we're seeing both things, that some are saying, that they're utilizing the time, and some that are saying they've thrown down their pens and not doing anything. How have you utilized the time?
Well, I've definitely, I'm one of those people who feels like I'm kind of like always on the clock, because there's always something musically I can work on. I could always be practicing it. I could always be doing this. So
right.
It just makes me more thankful that I have music, because I don't know what I would do if I was just stuck with nothing to do. I love, hanging out, watching movies with my dog as much as the next guy, or, taking a walk in the park, but he's kind of lazy. There's only so much of that he wants to do. So,
right.
It makes me really thankful to have, something to be expressive and, something to always work on. That's just, it's kind of a great, it's the great catch about music, is that you're never done. There's always something you can learn. So I never feel like I have like I'm sitting around with my thumb up my ass. I always, I can go to the guitar. I can work on this. I can work on that. I always wanted to get good at this. I always wanted to, there's always something. So that aspect of what I do has been kind of great for quarantine. If you don't think about finances at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is with the release of your album, and then everything was shut down because Tom did it.
I did. Well, you know what? We were able to squeak out one U.S. tour before.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, because usually with an album release, you kind of have the whole circuit set up. You're going out on tour. Maybe you were going to go overseas and tour. I think I saw something about you doing international shows and things.
Yeah, the last run we did was in Europe, and it's funny, if it would have been a week and a half later, we would have been stuck in the Netherlands, because we played a festival in the Netherlands, and then the Netherlands closed their border a week and a half after we played. So that could have been interesting if we were stuck there. There's worse places in the world to be stuck, but
right. But you could have came home single with the red light district right around the corner, and the legalized marijuana.
Yeah. The red light district isn't exactly my scene, but I will enjoy the coffee shops very much. But
see, I knew there was something that was just going to connect me and Tom there. I knew it.
that must have kind of taken the wind out of your sails a little bit, because
Totally.
It's something that you look forward to. It's like, okay, we're going to be on the road. You prep for all of this, and then all of a sudden it's gone. So when the world opens up again, what are the plans? Are you planning on touring with this music, or because you've been busy, and I hope collaborating with new stuff, that at the end of this, you might actually have another album, or very close to one.
Yeah, that's sort of what I hope the scenario will be, just sort of using this time as kind of like a gift in a sense, and just like really try to buckle down and get, on to the next thing. And that doesn't mean we're going to neglect the Terraformer music, really. We're the type of band who changes their set list show to show, and we like to mix things up. So, we'll always have a mixture of things. But it just seems like, whatever, the universe predicts where we're going, it's not really us. We're kind of just cogs in the wheel, so to speak. So it's just, we're going to use the time and try to write more and come up with as much as we can. And maybe by the time tours come around, we'll have another album ready for everybody. It definitely wasn't in the plan, especially when, that's a lot of music to release at once. I mean, we have a reputation for releasing long albums to begin with. All of our albums are around the 65-minute mark, which is a big ask for people. And, in following the trajectory of me making poor business decisions, let's release a 90-minute album. But, it is what it is. I mean, the way people consume music now, too, it's very rare that you get people to just sit and listen to a whole album, It's sort of, bits and pieces of things because, it's like an option paralysis type thing. When you go on Spotify, there's just so much. I mean, I find myself doing it too, so I'm not faulting people. But, my whole philosophy was, you could bite off a little bit now, bite off a little bit later, come back to it if you like it. And, but the whole thing, I got dog hair in my mouth. The whole thing was sort of meant to be a whole experience to listen to in one shot, and that's how I hope people who buy the vinyl sit down and sort of take in the whole experience, because it's meant to flow as a thing. You mentioned the Moody Blues and things like that. Like that, I grew up on that stuff. Like the first records I claimed from my dad's record collection, I had this little Fisher Price kind of record player, and I used to take my dad's records and listen to it. And first record I claimed was King Crimson and the Court of the Crimson King. But then it was Procol Harum and Moody Blues and all that kind of progressive rock stuff, Zappa, Allman Brothers. But those guys wrote albums that were meant to be experienced, sort of as a whole.
Very much so.
And I always loved that. That's why I never stopped buying vinyl. And now it's a shame because vinyl's so expensive again. But when I used to be into vinyl a couple of years ago, and everyone would laugh at me, but it was so cheap. You can go into a shop and buy a crate of records for $10, and now it's like they're in Urban Outfitters for $40 each,
Right. And that's because so many have gotten into it now. It's the quote unquote in thing.
And what, Matt, I don't even know if it's that. I think maybe it's more just like it's a nicer thing to hang on your wall. I often wonder how many people buy the vinyl and actually spin the vinyl.
Right.
I'd love to know. I'd love to really know what the statistics are, because it's sort of like a CD, but it's nicer to look at.
Definitely. And it kills me now because I had a huge vinyl collection growing up. Now, granted, a lot of it was some old school country, but I did have a lot of good music in there, including the, Pink Floyd, The Wall, and Days of Future Past by Moody Blues, a lot of the Eagles. And then I stored them in the wrong spot in Texas, and they ended up a big vinyl blob. And so I don't have them anymore. But one thing that I kind of wanted to take a step back to, you said earlier that this is the longest stretch that you've gone without being able to play since you were kind of 16 years old. Mm-hmm. How supportive was your support network, your parents, your family, brothers, sisters, and teachers and all that with your musical aspirations that early in life?
Well, I was very lucky that they might not have always understood what I was trying to do, but they always saw that I was definitely serious about it. And for me, I was really sick in high school. I had I still have Crohn's disease. It's like a stomach thing. Oh, and I was really sick in high school, and guitar was the thing that man, I was I don't feel like hanging out with people, but let me just play guitar. And that became sort of the thing, for me. So I have a pretty deep connection with me and guitar. It's not just a expressive sort of device, but it's a coping thing for me too,
therapeutic.
Yeah, it's therapeutic. Right. That's a good word for it. But I was always, because of that, I was always really, really serious about it. I think they could see that I had big aspirations for it, that it wasn't just I want to play guitar because I think it's a, easy
Dick magnet.
Yeah, or something like that, right?
Right.
God, yeah. I mean, the whole chick magnet mythology is didn't work for me. I'll tell you that much. But
well, that's the same thing that I found out about, being a writer. That I was told I was going to get all these women, and I became a writer, and I didn't get all the women. No, of course, I never heard that, but I did hear that about the rockers, and I always wanted to be one, but I don't have any musical talent whatsoever. I can sing a couple of old school country songs, but that's about the extent. And it depends on how much Jim Beam I've had in me. The more
yeah,
Jim
I mean,
Beam,
you got that gravelly voice. I could see you rocking some of those old country songs pretty well.
that just again, I remember one time we had a funeral and I was griping to my mom about a song and I started singing it and she goes, Matthew, I didn't know you could sing. And I said, I can't, but we're going to take a quick break here, folks, and then we're going to come back and wrap things up with Tom Monda of Thank You, Scientist. And so stand by for just a couple more minutes. We're going to have some more fun with Tom.
Cards, the Universe, and Everything is a trading card collecting battle card game that has a little something from everything. From the Old West to outer space and everything in between, Cards, the Universe, and Everything is great for gamers and collectors of all ages. Download it from your app store, and as you collect hundreds of available cards, there are more weekly, so you can craft up to 10 decks and battle against your friends and other players from around the world. And if you're an educator, check out cardstheuniverseandeverything.com for a special offer for you and your students.
And Meredith, I told you earlier I was going to let you ask some questions, and of course that turned out to be a lie because I've only let you have a few throughout the whole 45 minutes we've been together. But I say this in the most loving way. I listen to music all day long while I am working, and so I consider myself more of the musical connoisseur than Meredith. I don't even know what she listens to be honest. But we seem to coincide or coalesce on a lot of the stuff we like, some of the past guests that we've had, and then some of the older music that we like. But Meredith, I will let you take it away.
I just, I love the Genesis story. So in this iteration of your band, who was pretty much with you from the beginning? And maybe who is your most recent addition, I guess?
So Sal has been in the band, the vocalist, since the beginning with me. And when the band,
amazing voice. Oh my God!
Yeah, it's not a voice that you expect coming from Sal. Everybody's always taken aback by it. But yeah, so I actually used to be the singer in the band way back in the day, but I'm not like a spotlight kind of person. I don't like the all eyes on me thing, and it's too much pressure to
I don't know about that because I saw the video with you with the wig and you were rocking out. So
I can ham it up. There's no question about that. I can ham it up. But yeah, not to mention that I wasn't just like, I was just singing out of necessity, not really out of like any kind of like ability, just because we couldn't find anybody. Before early on, before we recorded our first EP, we met Sal. And so he's been on every single release. So yeah, Sal has been with us since the beginning. Ben, the violinist, has been with us for a long time. We had one violinist before Ben, who had like a kind of like career-altering hand injury. He doesn't play anymore. But Ben, I went to music school with the first violinist and Ben was a student of the same teacher. So when our original violinist hurt his hand, he recommended Ben. So Ben joined right after our first record. He's been with us ever since. Me and Ben actually lived together for years up until only a couple months ago. So, we're super close. We're like brothers. We traveled the world together and, but so me, Sal, and Ben have been working together for a long time. Cody, also the bass player, he joined on our second record. And we got a new drummer and new sax player, new trumpet player before Terraformer. Okay. And we haven't really, we've been around for a minute, but we're still kind of in the beginnings of what we're doing. We have 3 records out. It's not, we're still we're still figuring out our thing. But that kind of brings us up to date, Max. Well, and, it's cool because the band has sort of morphed and become like more of a true band. Like in the beginning, I used to write all the parts for everybody. I used to score everything. And then as time went on, it became more and more collaborative until the lineup that we have now, it's everybody throwing things into the pot. Even if I bring something that I write, it goes through so many changes from everybody's ideas. It always ends up, in my opinion, coming out way better than if it was just my dumb idea that we stuck with. It sort of changed the process of the band definitely for the better, in my opinion. And everybody, it's great. Everybody in the lineup really has just like, everybody has their own incredible strength. And, you know, and I have so many weaknesses. So to have, you know, all these people be able to fill all those weaknesses, it really helps the writing process, I think. And I'm just, you know, I always talk about how lucky I am to have the group of guys that I play with. I mean, there's, you know, as a collective, there's really nothing that any of us could think about that the guys would not try to do their best to play, to make possible, you know? And I'm so lucky to have that, because it's like the possibilities are endless, you know? I can bring in anything and they'll play it to the darkness of their ability. So I'm super thankful for that.
Yeah, that speaks to the, you know, what I was saying earlier is when you find a group of people who have that same drive to create music and go out there. I mean, most creators, musicians, writers, you know, anybody who has that creative spirit, they want to go out there and they create because they need to, not necessarily because they want to. It's just that something that they have to get out and share. And it's really a gift that you're sharing that gift, you know, because a friend of mine had once said to me, she says, if you have a gift and you're not sharing it, you're kind of being selfish about it. But it's hard work to get out there. It's hard work to put your thoughts down on the sheet music and collaborate with people and find those people. So, I mean, it's really something that I commend you guys for, you know, because it's not an easy thing. And, you know, so I would say if you were to put it on a scale with passion and money and fame, where are you?
Well, I have no money or no fame, so it's all passion.
So it's all passion. All right.
The scale is very tipped. I mean, in terms of priority, like, you know, obviously everybody in the band works as a professional musician. So all of my income comes from music in some way. With that said, the income doesn't influence the art that I make at all. You know,
that's cool.
That's not in the equation. The art that I make is just that. It's like the art that I want to make. And when people come along and enjoy it, that's great. And when they don't, that's also great. It's whatever. You know, my whole impetus in making music is really just to kind of have something more permanent than I am. You know, and I think a lot of musicians feel that way. You know, you're putting something out there that's going to outlive you, whereas like maybe someone 100 years from now, you know, they won't have the opportunity to know me, but they'll sort of kind of know a facet of me in certain ways. And I think that aspect of music is kind of cool.
I think one of the things also that I really admire about your group is that you have the willingness to experiment, which is not popular with a lot of people.
Right.
You know, so you kind of push the boundaries there and you say, you know, like us or lump us. And that is really, that's commendable too, because you're putting a statement and you're really putting your art out there, regardless of what the mainstream might want or demand.
Well, you know what? Here's a funny thing. And this like really kind of got my perspective on this whole thing. Max is being such a ham right now. My whole perspective on this thing, like, you know, imagine some of the greatest performances you've ever seen personally, right? Like stuff that you just like blew your mind, you watched on YouTube. You can go to any of those performances on YouTube and someone gave it a thumbs down. You know, or someone left a bad comment, right? So, you know, it just makes you think. I'm like, gosh, this stuff, like I've watched some performances and some musicians where I'm just like, this is an unattainable level of brilliance. Max, you want to move? Hold on one second.
Now, one thing that I wanted to ask, Tom, is you guys have been international. Y'all travel a lot. Where has been your favorite place to play so far?
Well, I would say mainland Europe is really, really fun because it's the first time in playing music that I sort of actually felt appreciated, like by the promoters as well. A lot of times in venues in the States, you sort of feel like an inconvenience. Like if you ask for water or something that the club is supposed to have, it's like you're an intolerable asshole, you know? I really, really try my hardest to not be an asshole. That's one of my tenets in life is just don't be an asshole. I think it's a good one to live by. And, but some promoters and things, they can really push that sometimes. But in mainland Europe, I mean, just the first time we went over there was just a really divergent experience from what we experience in the States in terms of like the hospitality that they offer artists and the food and things like that. And even a band as small as ours that's, you know, scrubbing along, all shoving in a tiny van and it's not a high budget operation. They still treated us like they cared about our well-being, you know? And a lot of shows that you play, it's like you're just background noise to make people come and spend money at the bar, you know, which is is kind of a bummer. But that's not the case with all venues, but there is times when you feel like that.
Definitely.
I mean, I had an incredible time when we went to Italy. I mean, not because of the shows. Well, our first show in Milan had an incredible attendance, and that was amazing. And the promoter put us up in this incredible place. It was so fun. The last couple shows we played in Italy were just so strange that they sort of are kind of carved into my memory and sort of in a place that I can laugh at now, but like when I was going
at the time, not so much.
At the time, not so much. At the time, it was just like kind of one of those scenarios where you just throw your hands up and you're just like, well, whatever, I'll survive this. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint my favorite place. But yeah, I would say Italy is up there for sure.
Very cool.
That was a good time. I mean, there's some places on my bucket list that I'm dying to play. Like, I really want to play in Japan, and you know, I've got some places I still want to go. But
now, I got to ask, because I've heard this for years that when you get into Italy, that they don't treat the normal crowds and the shops and stuff don't treat tourists all that well, that they're kind of put off. That's not the vibe you got at all, is it?
No, I think I blended well because I've got the big Italian nose, you know, so like I was able to infiltrate the culture with little suspicion, you know. But
yeah, no, Matthew on the other hand, Matthew on the other hand, he's a hick.
I could get away with it maybe until I talked.
There's no two ways about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Once I talked, it's over.
Yeah.
But you know, Tom, we're getting close to the wrap up time, but there's one question we always ask, but I want to ask Meredith, do you have anything else you want to ask Tom before I ask that final question of ours?
I think that's it. I had such a good time, and we probably could talk to you for a long time because it's again, it's dynamic, it's fun. You know, my personal favorite so far that I've heard from your new album, Terraformer, is Anchor.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's like 9 minutes and 40 something it's long, and I'm just like, oh my God, this thing is long, but it's really enjoyable. And I'm sitting there and I find myself singing along towards the end. So I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to sit with us and you know, share your story with Terraformer. And again, your website is thankyouScientist.com.
And what's the one for teaching though?
That would be tyslessons.bigcartel.com. And you could also just get us through the contact link on our website, and that's just as good. It's going to be me answering it either way, so it's just whatever way you want to hit me. And I want to thank you guys for having me. There's you know, there's not many interviews that I do where I can use the phrase scrotal cleavage, so I appreciate that.
And we appreciate you for that too.
Yes. And that's going at the quote at the top of the article. Tom says scrotal cleavage. No,
there you go.
Tom,
that's the clickbait. Or whatever, that's whatever the opposite of clickbait is. That's what
right. Yeah, and I don't think that does much good for our marketing, but you know, hey.
I mean, it depends on the crowd, and I guess, you know, depends on the scrotum, I will say too.
And if we could get the old guy from your videos, if we can get his fans over with a little scrotal cleavage, we might end up with some new fans.
Now we're talking, Matt. These two minds combined, we got something good going on. We got a little side hustle, me and Matt.
Afraid. Be very afraid.
Be afraid. But Tom, one thing that we ask all of our guests here on Geek Speak from geekinsider.com is that, and this one, I know it's going to put you on the spot, so you can take a second to think about it. But if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, my gosh.
And we can't play the Jeopardy theme because Mickey Mouse bitched at me just one time for just even mentioning something that Walt Disney did. So we stay away from anything like that.
Okay. I mean, man, if I could go back in time, I would make myself start playing an instrument earlier, because I was always so into music, but just the idea of me playing it, as dumb as this sounds, just never crossed my mind. And this is coming from someone who, my grandfather was a big band jazz drummer. I had a lot of artists in my family. I just never thought that it was a tangible thing, And my mom told me, I had a high chair growing up when I was a baby, and I used to get out of the chair and play drums along to the records on the high chair. So it was if I could go back in time, I would tell myself, start practicing music and taking it seriously, because I think I could have actually been, something decent. And right now I'm just hanging on by the seat of my pants now. Yeah, I would tell myself that, and maybe I would tell myself not to worry about college. I mean, that's a bad example to send out to people.
Hey, it is what it is.
If you ask me that same question 20 years from now, maybe I'd say, "Oh wow, I'm so glad I went to college." But
right,
for me, it was a momentary distraction. I'll describe it like that, without babbling anymore. But yeah, I would just tell myself to start earlier, take it seriously, and
Meredith, he just gave me one hell of an idea. We've got this whole big long list of all these people we've asked this question. That's something we need to do. Remind me in 20 years. And we need to go back. If I'm still around in 20 years, though, I'm going to be one pissed off old man.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. I feel as people sort of the mentality of, I almost look at young Tom, 13, 14-year-old Tom. It's like another person,
Exactly.
Thankfully, my mentality has grown, and I hope that it continues to grow. So I would hope that my answer to that question would be a little different 20 years from now. Otherwise, I'm not doing it right.
and that brings up a good point. I mean, growing up, I went by Matt. These days, it's Matthew, because that was a different person back then. I wasn't a very good person growing up. But that's a whole other show, and really not for Geek Insider. I'd have to go over and join Tom's buddy over on Pornhub.
That's the kind of thing where you pay someone, you sit on a couch and talk about.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But Tom, once again, man, we really, really appreciate you taking the time with us today. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. Folks, if you haven't done so, go check out thankyouScientist.com. As Tom said, you can find out information about their schooling on there, or the classes, I shouldn't say school, but also as the world starts opening up, hopefully we can start seeing some concert information on there, and you can find out a lot more about the band. But then go over to YouTube, check out their videos. These guys have got some really cool videos. I mentioned this earlier, and then Tom said it's a part of their influence with the Moody Blues, but the instrumentals, the long songs, and the whole album flowing together in one set really reminded me of them. And so make sure you check them out. These guys are great. Tom, we couldn't thank you more for coming on board. And then when the world does open up, you guys get all that music out that you've been writing up, and y'all start going back. Keep us on the top of your list to come back and see us.
Sure. And if you guys ever want to come see us play live, you guys know how to reach me. So, we'll throw you some tickets anytime you guys want to see the show.
Well, I'm in the Austin, Texas area, the music capital of the world. South by Southwest gets opened back up. You guys make your way down here. Shoot me a note. And Tom, don't go anywhere. We're going to wrap this up, and then we'll cut the live feed, and then we can talk a little bit more.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right.
Thank you for tuning in to Geek Speak, a Geek Insider podcast. Our guest is Tom Monda with Thank You Scientist, and you can follow them at thankyouScientist.com.
You've been tuning in to Geek Speak with Matthew Harris and Meredith Loughran, a Geek Insider presentation. Subscribe to the Geek Insider podcast on your favorite listening app and sign up for the newsletter on our website. We also have advertising opportunities through the website, podcast, and newsletter. For details, contact advertising at geekinsider.com. This has been a Geek Insider production. Thank you for listening. Geek out.